Hello, everyone. I'm Brownfield's Rhiannon Branch, and excited to welcome you back to another Pioneer Harvest Hangout. Today, we're going to review the corn harvest results from this year in both Illinois and Iowa, and highlight some of the innovations in Pioneer's pipeline on this front. But first, as always, let's welcome back our agronomists, Nate and Pat. Guys, for those who are just joining us, remind us where you're located and what you do for Pioneer.
Hey, everybody. My name is Nate LeVan. I am a field agronomist in north central Iowa, based out of the Mason City area, so not too far out of I-35, basically within like a half an hour of the Minnesota border, so kind of on the northern part of the state. I cover mainly corn and soybeans, do local trialing, work with a pretty extensive team of sales agencies across about 5 or 6 counties. So it's good to be here again. Good to be back with the A team here with you and Pat.
And I'm Pat Ray, Pioneer Field Agronomist in East Central Illinois. I live in Bloomington in McLean County, and I cover 2 territories. My East Territory butts up against the Indiana border and actually goes into Indiana just a little bit. Champaign would be on the west side of it. And then from Champaign back here to McLean County is my West Territory, and 2 very different territories. The east side is a lot more into specialty crops. There's food grade, non-GMO. The west side is more traditional corn, soybean rotation, and been with Pioneer since 2016 here in Illinois.
Very good. Well, Pat, I'm going to let you kick us off by kind of giving us a recap of the growing season for corn there in Illinois and some of the yield results that you saw this year.
Yeah, here in Illinois, in my area, we had this drought this summer, and it was right on top of the area I cover. And so that Champaign area and the surrounding counties were short on rain through June and July. If we back up to planting season, we got off to a slow start. Not a lot happened in April. Only about 7% of the Illinois corn crop was planted by May 1st. We were cold and damp in April, and then a big window came up about the 10th of May and through the 20th, and that's when the bulk of the corn and soybeans got planted here in the state. As I said, we went through kind of a droughty type season, and then towards the end of the season here in August, we got some really timely rains and really brought the yields up from where we were expecting them early on. So kind of a nice surprise here at the end of the season. Disease was low for the most part in corn. We had some different diseases that we hadn't seen in a while in soybeans, like sudden death syndrome and white mold. And but tar spot wasn't a big deal this year for us compared to the previous year. And fertility wise, we're in really good shape on nitrogen this year. A lot of times we leach a lot of nitrogen out with excessive rains in the springs, and they get down below the root zone where the corn can't get to them. This year we didn't have that issue. We probably had more nitrogen than we needed this year. So we finished pretty strong, and it turned out to be a pretty exciting year overall.
Pat, as far as yields, in that area, about average, above, below?
So it depends on where you're at. I would say expectation-wise, we were above expectations through most of my area. There, on the east side, we were definitely drier compared to the west side. And we had probably, from a yield standpoint, maybe not our all-time record yield, but with market prices, probably a record revenue year for a lot of growers, which is pretty exciting. But definitely up there in the top 5 years as far as yield goes on both corn and beans in where I cover.
Nate, go ahead and walk us through the growing season for corn there in Iowa.
Yeah, corn started out very similarly to what Pat had. We kind of had a little delay. We're kind of used to this, getting everything planted, or a big chunk of it planted in April, and that was not the case. So 2020 and 2021 gave us that opportunity. I would say the first 2 weeks of May were probably the bulk of where most of our corn went in. And I would say, again, compared to at least 2021, the 2022 field conditions were probably 80-20. Guys were not going to let, prevent plant happening, and they were probably pushing the envelope a little bit. So there were a few more cases where we might have had some smeared sidewalls, maybe a little bit of shallow compaction, those sort of things, but not widespread. I mean, for the most part, I would say the biggest issues with planting was just a little bit cooler soils. I mean, we had a long time till we had to reach 60-degree soil temperatures. We're not afraid with seed treatments anymore, with seed treatments anymore, to kind of push that boundary below 50, but the cold, wet, extended periods, it did take a little bit longer to come up. But no, overall good planting conditions early. And then really up until probably the 4th of July locally here, we were maybe a little bit on the wet side. I mean, I wouldn't call it excessively wet, but we were very sufficient with rains. Had some good lead into pollination weather, and then we cooled off a little bit, but we had a big chunk of my territory that didn't see a significant rain from about the 4th of July till about the 5th of August. So kind of during that critical time period, we definitely had some products start to sort on stress tolerance there, and pollination stress tolerance. So got some different hybrid ratings, I would say, that were really good refinements for us on the Pioneer side to try to hem those in a little bit and get closer to where we think they're rated. But really, kind of like what Pat said, this really last third of the growing season, we had a tremendous kernel fill opportunity. We really slowed things down. We had some hybrids that I would say last year were pushed with all the additional heat and really didn't reach their full potential because they were an earlier season hybrid and they just got pushed way too fast. We did not see that with those hybrids this year. We actually saw some extremely high yielding, mid season for me, mid season is probably 100, 107, 108 relative maturity hybrids. We saw that mid maturity really be outstanding this year, and almost to the point where towards the end of the growing season, we actually saw some, I'm not going to call them early, but earlier than normal, what we've had the last couple of years. Frosts kind of, finish the life of the really full season hybrids a little earlier. So still, all things considered, I think we're going to have top 3, corn crop here in North Central Iowa. And I think guys, for the most part, are pretty happy what they're finding. Certainly above the expectations that we're seeing there that first week of August.
That cool weather we had here in August was a real benefit, like you said, slowing things down. We had that over here in Illinois as well, and just the grain fill is unbelievable. Normally we use 90,000 kernels per bushel when we're doing yield checks, and this year we had some hybrids that kernel counts weren't there, but when you look at the depth of the kernel, we're talking like 65, 70,000, 75,000 kernels per bushel this year. That's where a lot of that yield is coming from. We didn't have the kernel counts, but we had the plants out there, and we had that deep grain fill.
Let's go ahead and call out some of those hybrids by name. Some of them, that worked well this year, or maybe some that you guys are most excited about moving forward.
Yeah, we had a pretty good advancement class. I would say the thing that, and I touched on this at one of our earlier communications here, was, our sub 100-day package has just been tremendous. I mean, we got a couple new advancements this last year, and then new advancements from the previous year. I've got probably between 9823 Chrome. It's a 98-day fully treated above and below ground Chrome hybrid that's really suited well to kind of North Central Iowa. It comes out of the ground like a rock star. Really fast establishment, and one of those hybrids that I think historically sometimes the earlier hybrids give up some yield, to the mid-maturity, 104-day stuff. The last 2 seasons, this one has really kind of made a little name for itself, and hopefully a lot of guys down in Southern Iowa don't hear us talk about this, because it's kind of been our little secret up here. So it's been a neat little hybrid that I think it can fit. I'm not going to call it the racehorse acre, but it brings a punch for a 98-day. And then we've got a 9955. It comes as a chrome and then a double, so fit a wide variety of acres. So the sub 100-day hybrids, that one's brand new this year. We did a lot of PKF testing, a lot of PKP testing. It's a hybrid that if you wanted to sell planter parts, you would sell this hybrid, because the ear set is like carbon copy across the board, the same node every time. And they're beautiful test weight. It's probably, I wouldn't say that's quite going to make food grade, but when you're talking compared to some of those food grade hybrids, I mean, this is going to be a special little grain quality hybrid. And the slow cook, or that grain fill, really helped those kernels. I mean, they were bigger than my thumbnail. I mean, they were just a tremendous kernel size on that one. So you combine that with our really strong PO339 Chrome and PO421 Chrome and AM in the mid maturities. We sold a lot of P0075 chrome and double. It's really made this early part of our lineup quite a lot of fun. And I now understand what the guys to the south of me that get to sell that big genetic package in that 112 to 114 day when they get these big hammers down there. I now kind of know what it feels like up here in the northern part of the state. So kind of fun that way.
Well, my latitude, our focus is mainly on about 107 to 117 day hybrids. We do go outside that because I go a long ways from north to south here in Illinois, but 107 to 117 would catch the bulk of it. And we've got so many products to talk about. We probably don't have enough time to hit them all. So I'll focus on just a few. Most of our customers, the first thing that we focus in on is whether or not they're worried about rootworm or not. If they're worried about rootworm, we're running with chrome. If rootworm isn't a concern, especially on rotated ground and outside of the area where we've got historic rootworm issues, then we're running a double, which is our AM type hybrid. So from an advancement standpoint, we advanced 209-day products that are just blowing the doors off a lot of the competitors out there. I'm really excited about 953 AM, that's our double, and 924 chrome. Big standouts. They run with some of the fuller season, 110, 111, 112 type products. So they're packing the same type of performance in a shorter season. Customers really like that, especially with extra grain drying prices now with the increase in energy costs. And these products come out of the field nice and dry, but still pack that big yield. So that's what we have in the 109-day range. And then we've got two brand new ones as well in that 112-day range. So 1222 AM. Last year, David Hula took this product and set the NCGA record with over 600 bushel corn with 1222 AM. And then alongside that, on the triple side for rootworm protection on chrome, we have 1278 chrome. And then lastly, we've always struggled in my area, at least since I've been here since 2016, with full season products. And we've come out with two full season products that really fill some gaps for us, not just the full season gap, but 1608 AM also fills our food grade gap. I've got a lot of food grade end users here, Frito, Bunge, and 1608 fits that category. So it checks the full season box. It checks the food grade box, and the performance on it is unbelievable, along with test weight and grain quality. And then 1742 is not food grade, but this thing is just a plot standout everywhere. It's brand new. It's an intro product, and it does fill that full season gap and absolutely shadows everything in the plots from a competitive standpoint. So those are the products I'm excited about. Our two 109s, our two 112s, and this 116, 117 day that fill our full season gap.
Forgive me if I missed it, and maybe you did mention it, but and maybe it's because this is one you guys are going to be expanding on in the 2023 season. But were you talking to me about 4-seed enlist corn?
Yeah, so Pat was very nice about it. Like if we have rootworm problems or if we don't, North Central, Northeast Iowa is kind of like with Pat's area. We're kind of if you want to go find rootworms, we can find some for you from time to time. Now, granted, the nice market value of soybeans have led guys to kind of change their mindsets and rotate. But quite honestly, guys in North Central Iowa like to grow corn on corn. And this is going to be another great tool in the toolbox when it came to the lineup that we're expecting to get out of the 4-seed enlist product lineup. I think my biggest thing is maybe Pat, you can talk about this a little bit. Like when we talk about chrome, we talk about the genetic advantage to be able to play with a bunch of different genetic base types, and the breeders are giving us, and I'm going to use that sub 100 day, are giving us so many options there. And when it comes to our RNAi technology, that's going to be in 4-seed enlist. It's a different mode of action than the BTs that are there. I like it. It's another great tool, but I better not give up any of the agronomics, the yield, the genetic diversity that I'm already getting here with chrome. And that's I think what I'm most excited about, because when you talk about the high performance chrome lineup, it's going to roll right into 4-seed enlist, once that trait package. And I think in impact trials, I have gotten to see a couple of those products, kind of given a hint as to what we're going to be seeing in the next few years. So, pending regulatory approval and all the other things. And after we get through those hoops, I think my falls are going to be even more fun, because now we're going to have an additional tool in the toolbox, maybe that additional layer to get through what Mother Nature always seems to do with those little buggers is always be kind of a step ahead of ahead of the farmers because we've done beetle control, we've done in-furrow insecticide, we've had chrome, we've had, a lot of different options. Another bullet in the gun, so to speak, would be tremendous. So excited for it. I can't really pick out any specific hybrids yet, at least none that they'll let me share with you. But I am privy to see some of the technology in the field here locally in North Central Iowa.
Well, one thing that's cool is we're not a one-hit wonder. Like, we got a whole portfolio of products to bring to market from those maturity ranges that we're talking about. In Nate's area, sub 100 day. In my area, we're focused on that 107 to 117 right now. And we just got a whole list of products and a whole portfolio to work with. So I would say that we're not in any rush to bring out this new RNAi technology. We're going to take our time. We don't have any holes to fill right now as far as rootworm go in my area. Our products are working great. And there are some areas of North America that they do have some issues and they're looking for that next gen corn rootworm. We're in really good shape here as far as that goes. Our rootworm pressures are low. So that's really helpful. And as I look forward, I'm excited for the Vorseed as well, because it's using some of the same traits that we currently have in addition to the RNAi, and we don't have a yield drag with those traits. So chrome is, we always talk about chrome, but we maybe don't take the minute to explain what it is. It's a molecular stack of our above and below ground Herculex, and that's really important. In the past, we used to have those two separate traits inserted separately. It's like they took up two separate parking spots in the corn when you put them in there. And only about 30% of our inbreds would accept those two traits separately. But when we stack them together as a molecular stack, we can tap into, Pioneer has the world's biggest germplasm going all the way back to 1926. We can tap into over 90% of our inbreds will accept that trait molecular stack, and has really propelled us forward. And it really has increased our diversity. So we're able to bring out chrome products and AM products, and those products aren't even related. Those 209-day products that I talked about, 924 and 953, those are different genetics. The 1222 and 1278, again, different genetics. 1608 and 1742, all different genetics. It used to be our triples would have a hard time keeping up with our doubles. With chrome, we don't have that issue. Our chrome is actually in some cases beating our doubles. And especially in rootworm world, where you've got to control those rootworm and get that kind of performance, that's where it's been really exciting with all these new products. So it's made our job just a whole lot simpler out in the field here, hasn't it, Nate?
I love options. Options are always good because everybody has a slightly different challenge, and to have three chrome options in the 98 to 100 day, and three chrome options in the 102 to, actually I have four in the 102 to 104. I mean, I can fit any acre twice. That with the AMXTs, I had options, but not near as many as we have today. So it's really been amazing, and I'm hoping that Vorseed technology keeps that genetic momentum going. Although now I have reps telling me, well, how do we simplify the package? So it's always a give and take. Sometimes you create complexity too, but I would much rather have options like we do now. It's a lot of fun.
You guys spoke to some of the challenges of this growing season. Let's kind of shift gears here. I think the rest of the conversation, I'd like for you guys to touch on some of the common questions that you're receiving when it comes to corn, whether that be on nitrogen, tar spots, what to try next. What are you guys hearing?
Well, if we keep talking up the 953, supply is going to be an issue, because if he likes it and I like it, that one's going to be really good. But overall, corn supply is good. But I would say, tar spot is the new kid on the block for us. I know over in the Eastern Corn Belt they've had it, but our challenges has turned into, I think, a really good opportunity for us, because we've talked about previously about our product knowledge plots and some of those side by sides that we do in the field full length. Visiting those plots with growers and asking them, all right, what are you currently doing from a management standpoint? Are you a fungicide user? Are you a 2-pass fungicide user? I think this was an unplanned trial, so to speak, for me, but one that I think is going to have a lot of traction in our winter meetings. I'm going to have probably 12 to 15 locations where we're able to split fields with 2-pass versus 1-pass, and knowing the pressure that we've had this year, it's going to be a nice chance for us to kind of take that challenge next year and say, okay, genetically we have a 7. What does that look like with 2-pass? Genetically we have a 5. And for us, if you'll remember from our previous recordings, a 9 for us is the best and a 1 is the worst. So sevens for tar spot are actually pretty good. With input prices being what they are, and let's just call a spade, the lack of availability of maybe every product that we want to use from a fungicide standpoint, there's going to be some legitimate questions about, well, how many can we actually cover 2 passes of fungicide, and what should my plan be? So I guess those are challenges that I'm getting a lot of questions on moving forward on the corn side. And then also how to be most efficient with our nitrogen dollar. I mean, that always every year, we're amazed at what that nitrogen does for us and give us some of those big yields. But if we can be more efficient about, and instead of 1.2 pounds per bushel, if we can bring that down to 1 or 0.9, not only helps us, environmentally, but it also helps us, in the pocketbook at the end, which everybody wins. So those are the 2 big things that I've been getting questions on and looking over the last few weeks.
Hate to hit a lot of the questions that I've received as well, nitrogen and just fertility in general and those costs and so forth, and how we manage input costs going into this next year with so many uncertainties. So that sums up a lot of it. Tar spot for us in 21, tar spot was a big deal. So going into 22, we just had tons of tar spot questions. This year with the dry summer that we had and not having a lot of late wetness hours out there, we just didn't have near the tar spot. It didn't show up until black layer, so it wasn't as big of a deal this year, but something to definitely watch out for next year. That's what customers are asking about. Is it going to come back next year, even though we didn't see it this year? And obviously that's very weather and environment driven. But I think the question that I've probably taken the most here lately is I work with a lot of farm managers, with a lot of customers and big operations as well. They're all asking about, Pioneer's really changed in the last few years. Like, I started in 2016 and Pioneer was definitely strong. It drew me here, but I knew some of the things that were coming in the pipeline. And our pipeline has just exploded with new products. We're cranking out a lot of new products and they're asking about those new products. Where do they fit? What acre should I put those on? And how do I get the best out of each of those different hybrids? So we've really been product focused. We've been using Field Planner, which is part of our granular insights, to go field by field and figure out which products belong where, right product, right acre at the right rate. That's been a big focus. And I would say also the people. There's been a lot of people that have joined the Pioneer team just in the last year here in my area. We've got some new territory managers that came from competitive brands. We've got some people that left where they were at and became Pioneer seed reps. In my area alone, we've got 4 new Pioneer seed reps. That's really exciting. So there's a lot of enthusiasm and momentum around Pioneer right now. Our product performance was really good this year. Even with this drought that we had, products really shined. The new products are really standing out. So just a lot of great things happening on the Pioneer side. A lot of times you always look at the other side and you think the grass is greener, but let me tell you, the Pioneer grass is really green right now and we're excited about it.
Well, guys, anything else you want to add in terms of what corn looked like this year or innovations you're excited about? Any final remarks for the conversation?
I guess, when we think about starting that process for 2023, I mean, we just got done with harvest. Most of you guys are probably putting away combines and think about tillage. That's I guess when a lot of not only the fun part of the planning part is for us as agronomists, because we get to make that plan. And, if you're feeling like you have some unanswered questions on that fertility stuff, or we're dry here. And I think just back to the spring of 2021, that tillage question, I'm sure maybe you're getting that too, Pat, is like, well, do we want to do any more tillage this fall? How do we prep or start for a good 2023? This is the time to do it. I mean, I know everybody's got to get some inputs purchased and, some things wrapped up before winter hits, but over the next couple months, after you kind of sit down after Thanksgiving, a lot of times is a good pre-planning time. We can go through the intricacies of the hybrids, and it really sets the stage. You're planning to, or you're failing to plan, you plan to fail, so to speak. So getting some plan as far as hybrid placement and how to feed that hybrid and really what that looks like on the tar spots. I'd much rather have a plan A, B, C, D, and be able to execute that rather than now we get to mid-August and then what. So I would encourage you to reach out to your Pioneer sales agency. A lot of you guys have your local territory managers I'll have you have my number too. So give me a call. Would love to sit down and have that conversation. So.
And you heard me talk about some of the gaps we filled. We filled that food grade gap. We filled some of the full season gap. Last year alone, we got 5 new hybrids on the Frito list. That is massive. Like if you get 1 or 2 products on, you're doing pretty good. We got 5 products on. That's a big reflection of our test weight change. And so I guess the only thing I would say in closing here is if you're a farmer out there and you feel like that you've got a gap in the lineup, let us know what that gap is. Maybe we've got the product that'll fit that. If we don't, it's something that Nate and I can pass on to our product agronomists. We have local product agronomists here that go through the advancement process. They work with the corn breeders. We can send that up the line and let the company know what are those gaps. And that's what Pioneer is all about, is listening to our customers and trying to fill gaps and bring products out here that are going to fit your acre.
All right. Well, that wraps up today's Harvest Hangout with Pioneer. And it's actually the last one with Nate, Pat, and myself. So I want to thank you guys so much for offering up your time and expertise these last couple of episodes. But don't worry, Harvest Hangouts will be back next week with a couple of different Pioneer reps and my colleague at Brownfield, Mark Dorenkamp. So you guys can plan to visit and watch that conversation at brownfieldagnews.com.